So, the other day I was chatting with my friend who's starting in France. If you're watching this, no. When you're watching this, you know who I'm talking about. Anyway, she was complaining how she barely speaks to native people because she's terrified of making mistakes. And you know, as a dedicated friend that I am, my instinctive reaction was, "What? Oh my god, dude, something is wrong with the connection. I can't hear anything. Maybe another time, okay?" I'm just kidding. Jeez. On a more serious note, making mistakes is kind of a big deal actually, especially when you want to impress people that need to be impressed. For example, your employer, your favorite celebrity, someone you have a crush on but never had a chance to approach. So I've thought about it pretty hard, and by pretty hard I mean when I brush my teeth, and I've come up with a few ideas. This is what I cannot stand about Korean dramas. It takes about a few dozens of episodes for the hero and the heroine to be holding hands, which is crazy. In reality, probably half an episode is enough for them to get pregnant. Always better, in most cases, to go straight to the point rather than wasting your time wandering around, beating around the bush, because that leads to two things. One, we're most likely to ramble when we're confused, and that gives whoever you're talking to the satisfaction of knowing that they can fluster you with just a few simple words. Number two, the more you babble, the more you diffuse yourself away from the core topic. The further away you are, the less you make sense. The more confused you get, and the more you ramble. It's basically a vicious cycle. You don't want to get into that. This is not to be mistaken with taking a long time to answer. Because, you know, when people say something to you, "So what do you think about this movie?" It's kind of expected that you have an instant reaction in return. Otherwise, it's kind of unnerving to see someone you're talking to all of a sudden frozen and zoned out. Some people might even think, "Oh my god, is she having a stroke?" Which is kind of scary. I'm talking about the speed of speaking. When you can moderate your speaking speed, you gain more control over everything, really. Your pronunciation, your grammar, you can really avoid pesky little mistakes that are actually very commonly made. For example, S or no S, or you won't say things like, "I don't mean no harm," which is acceptable in hip-hop English speaking, but not in more formal contexts. And you can also keep track on the subject you're addressing, which in referring back to the previous part about hitting the point is very important. Besides, when you have more control, you'll be more confident, and that's always a good thing, right? I know what you're thinking. Me, talking about keeping it simple. Yeah, right. I have to admit, even I am sometimes in awe of my own verbosity. You see what I just did? I totally could have said, "I am a very wordy person." But no, I used to do these sentence correcting exercises in which the sentences that are most obviously inaccurate are actually the longest. So it's better to keep things short and sweet in terms of structure. That doesn't mean that you cannot flaunt your English competence. Always find other ways to do that. You can incorporate some more advanced vocabulary, or you can add more verbs to give more ambience. For example, saying "I totally get it" and saying "I fully understand" are identical in terms of structure, but they don't sound the same. Now, I know I've always encouraged you to stray from your comfort zone, but in situations where you need your English to be as flawless as possible, it's advised to stay within it. Use words and structures that you're familiar with. Don't use anything that you're not sure about the meaning or the pronunciation. And definitely be careful with slangs and idioms and catchphrases, because those are tricky. Don't use them unless you're 100% positive how to. I think it's no point to show off your skillfulness only to be corrected afterward. Nothing wrong with saying "I don't know" technically. It's a fail in terms of personality. Unless you're asked about a fact. For example, what is the element next to iron in the periodic table? Then I just say "I don't know" right away, because I don't speak chemistry. Period. But if people ask for your opinion, then why not give them yours? I understand that we feel self-conscious sometimes about our opinions, whether they sound silly, unrealistic, naive, But opinions are supposed to be subjective. They don't have to be right or wrong. You can say you think the sky is pink and it's fine as long as you're fine with it because it's your opinion. It's up to you. In conclusion, I think the key to mitigate the chance of your making mistakes is to gain more control. Control over the content of speaking, control over the manner of delivering the information, as well as your personality. Hope you find this video helpful. I'll see you next time.